Are you ready to feel the roar? Are you ready for the brand new DTM season 2022? Because we certainly are. It's been a long winter of abstinence, but we are back here and we're so excited to kick off the new season in Portimao in Portugal. We've got blue skies, we've got wonderful weather, and we are so hot, so ready to get this season started. And in fact, we've got 29 drivers in the field and all in all, 6 premium brands. And the new one amongst them is Porsche, and we're very excited to have them. Finally, they're back, all in all, with 3 cars. And here we can see 2 of the cars. And of course, the guys are already sitting in their cars, so ready for the qualifying. And fact is, they're going to be hunting hard, that's for sure, because obviously it's all about performing well here and about the title in 2022. It's going to be exciting because Maxi Götz is going to do everything he can to defend his title, but it's going to be a very spectacular season. So let's get the qualifying started. Here's your commentator. Enjoy.
Thanks very much indeed, Verena. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the start of the weekend. Welcome to the 2022 season. I'm Chris Hartley. I'll be talking you through all of the action this weekend, both qualifying sessions and both races to come, after what's been already a busy week for the drivers, as we look at Kelvin van der Linde, who was instrumental in last year's championship, finishing in 3rd place in the end, but fighting for the title right down to the wire. He is amongst many drivers that are capable of winning this year's championship fight. And Red Bull AF Corsa are back this season with a pair of Ferraris, but with a new driver lineup. There is Felipe Fraga. He has had great success over in Brazil, initially starting out in Brazilian stock cars and racing out in the USA as well. It's likely to be one to watch. Dennis Olsen, who is a former Porsche front-runner, Porsche champion, is one of the drivers for SSR Performance. Porsche dipped their toe into the water last season at the Nürburgring with Michael Ammermuller, but this is going to be the first full season in DTM for the team and for Porsche as one of the 6 brands that we have. Laurens Vanthoor, the hugely experienced GT record behind him. Great career so far, and what a field that we have lined up for you. 29 cars this season, 29 entries, being the largest field since the DTM was relaunched in the year 2000.
Currently, just
a radio check. We hear from David Schumacher, one of the young drivers coming in from a single-seater background, and Nico Muller, who's been going really well in pre-season testing. Team Rosberg got off the year to a good start last year with a podium finish, a 2nd place finish for Nico in the opening weekend at Monza, but Monza a very different track to everywhere else. And unfortunately, the season, that was the high point for them. They really struggled. It was a good year for them in the Extreme E Championship. The first season of that, they won Rosberg. But in DTM, it was a disappointing season for a team that's used to winning drivers and teams titles. So Nico Muller will be hoping for great things. And here is a great name coming into DTM as a part-time campaigner, getting a bit close to David Schumacher there, coming down the pit lane. Sebastian Loeb, the 9-time World Rally Champion, is making his DTM debut this weekend. He's in the 2nd of the Ferraris, the Red Bull AlphaTauri AF Corsa machine, number 37, the blue and white car, and that's going to be driven for most of the season by Nick Cassidy, but Nick is on Formula E duty this weekend. He's got to miss a couple of rounds, and so they brought in Sebastian Loeb to make his debut. So he is in and amongst the field, and what a quality field it is. We've got those 6 brands: Mercedes with 8 cars, Audi with 6, Lamborghini with 6 cars, BMW with 4, and the new M4, which they're hoping is going to be competitive this year. Porsche with 3 cars and 2 Ferraris in the entry list. And between them, this year's drivers have won no fewer than 14 FIA titles and a further 16 international titles between them as GT experts, touring car experts, and drivers with 28 wins between them in endurance racing classics such as the Nürburgring 24 hours and the Spa 24 hours. So it's an incredible field. We've got 3 champions, including René Rast, who returns after he last won the title in 2020. He concentrated on Formula E last year, but he is back, and he is part of the AB Sports lineup in the Audi. New to these types of cars. He's driven GT3 machinery before at events like the Nürburgring, but not in DTM trim, with the different BOP, the different weights, and of course the different tyres that they use, all on Michelin's. As leading them out into qualifying for the first time, we have Luca Stoltz, who was out on a couple of occasions last year, and he is new with Team HRT this year, Luca. And there you can can see the number 19 Rolf Inischen Grasser Racing Team, a Lamborghini. Rolf, a former class champion of the Porsche Carrera Cup Deutschland. He's built up a good amount of GT experience and success over the last few years. And Grasser Racing Team coming into DTM for the first time, one of the new teams in this championship. And there's the driver that proudly sports the number 1 on his car, Maximilian Götz, who won that dramatic finale at the Norris Ring last year. He has switched teams and is now racing with Team Windward, having moved from Team HRT. We've got 13 rookies in the championship this year, so almost half the field are DTM rookies. But having said rookies, they are all very experienced racing drivers. And we've got 5 drivers changing teams. Maxi Götz from HRT to Windward. Esteban Moot has moved from T3 Motorsport to Volkenhorst.
We have to stay in this spot.
And has also switched from Lamborghini to BMW. Sheldon van der Linde.
3 Lambos in front of you.
As Rennie Rast gets the insight into who is in front of him on the track. From Rover Racing, who are not in the championship this year. Disappointing, frustrating year last year for Sheldon van der Linde, and he's now with Schubert Motorsport. Been looking pretty sharp in free practice. Arjun Mining for Team Get Speed last year has moved to Team HRT. First Indian racer in DTM and a podium finisher in the final round at the Norris Ring. And Mirko Bortolotti, who had a great guest appearance at Assen and became the first ever driver to take a Lamborghini onto a DTM podium in Holland last year. He is back for a full campaign, hugely experienced Lamborghini factory driver. And the Italian has, rather than being with T3 Motorsport, who are back this year, he's also with the Grasser Racing Team. And 3 drivers coming back into DTM after some time away, including Rennie Rast, who wasn't with us last year. You're on board with him now. Philipp Eng, who last raced in DTM in 2019 and has been a DTM race winner, and Maro Engel, who last raced in the DTM in 2017. Maro is back with us. Nürburgring 24-hour specialist, and somebody else that's been a race winner in DTM. 9 of the field have been race winners in the DTM. 68 victories between them. So we're here at this wonderful venue, the Autodromo Internazionale d'Algarve, Portimao. Portimao, the city, which is a port city, is actually about 17 or 18 kilometres from here. We're out in the hills, a little bit inland, in this wonderful venue which was first opened and built in late 2008. It is a very undulating circuit. It's a great track, absolutely beautiful. It winds in and out of itself quite a lot, so it's quite a long lap at 4.6 kilometres. It's actually fairly easy to access and walk around the track, as I did when I got here a couple of days ago. There are 8 uphill sections and 7 downhill sections. So the car rises and falls almost constantly. There are only 2 or 3 corners on the whole lap, which are pretty even, pretty flat. Everywhere else, you're either downhill into a corner, uphill coming out of a corner, or somewhere in between. Now, 29 cars on track for 20 minutes of qualifying. This is going to be fairly hectic. This sets the grid for race 1. There are various format changes to DTM this year, but qualifying is not one of them. The races are still 55 minutes plus 1 lap, but the pit window has changed. Rather than being a pretty open pit window, it's now controlled between minutes 10 and 40 is when you can make your pit stop, which opens up strategies. There's more tyres available, 1 more set of tyres available to the teams. 5 this weekend, 4 for subsequent races, but 3 of them available for these 2 qualifying sessions and 2 races in terms of brand new tyres. You can see, about to go over the start-finish line, one of the rises there, as you come out of the last turn at turn 15, you actually rise over the brow of the crest to the start hatchings, and then here it begins to descend down into the right-hander at turn 1 at the 50-metre board. And turn 1 is where yesterday, during the free practice sessions, lots of drivers were running foul of track limits warnings. Now there's a promising young driver, number 66, going through. Another team new to the championship, Attempto Racing, Marius Zug, the teenager, who was quickest a few weeks ago in the pre-season test at Hockenheim. But to give you a base idea of what the sort of quick times will be around here in qualifying, yesterday in free practice 1, Nico Muller set the absolute best time of 1 minute 40.793. Sheldon van der Linde was quickest in free practice 2 with a 1 minute 40.807. But the track temperature quite a bit cooler than it was yesterday afternoon. Air temperature's similar, just under 20 degrees. But yesterday afternoon, the track temperature got as high as 40 degrees, and it's at the moment only 17 degrees. So sector times. The first sector, 31.5 is a quick time. A 31.9 in sector 2 is a quick time. And a 37.0 in the third sector, the longest sector in terms of time, are very pacey. So that already looks like a very impressive lap from Sheldon van der Linden, quicker than we've seen perhaps anything so far in either of the free practice sessions. They're out testing all day and into the evening on Tuesday and Wednesday as well. Some of the drivers getting up to 80 laps a day. So they've had a lot of time to get the car set up for the track. Sheldon van der Linden with a 1 minute 40.14 already, the quickest time of the weekend so far, early doors in qualifying. But are we going to see drivers getting below the 1 minute 40 bracket? Felipe Fraga's on a good lap here. Zug van Auwer's gone second. Canadian rookie Michael Grenier goes second with a 1 minute 40.4, 1 minute 40.5 for the impressive Marius Zug. And Marco Wittmann, the 2014-2016 champion in the BMW, also on a 1 minute 40.5 into fourth place, just ahead of the first of the Lamborghinis of Clement Schmidt. Maximilian Buch has just crossed the line to go into third place, and 0.3 of a second adrift. In the practice sessions yesterday, 0.9 of a second covered over 20 drivers. Nico Müller, absolute best second sector. He's the one that's been up there in every session so far, and he's at the top of the times in qualifying. Onto provisional pole goes Nico Müller, twice a runner-up in the championship. Difficult year last year, but a 1 minute 40.098, the fastest time of the week so far. Van der Linden pushed down to second. Lucas Auer had a great second half of the season last year, has gone into third, but Ricardo Feller has set the absolute best first sector time with 31.2 seconds. Which is a couple of tenths up on most of the cars through there. Sheldon van der Linden, though, he's on another improved lap here. He's already second. Can he get that provisional pole position back? Sheldon, there he is. His new team, the new M4 for this year. Looking to improve upon the one DTM race victory that he's got so far. Younger brother to Kelvin van der Linden, who was fighting for the championship last year. Over the line, he is about to come. What lap time will he get? 1 minute 40.26. Just fell away a little bit in the last sector. It was a tenth slower than his best lap, but we've still got Ricardo Feller to come charging through in the number 7 Abt Sportsline Audi. Abt with a really strong driver lineup this year. Feller, one of the drivers that's a rookie to DTM, but hugely experienced GT racer. He's about to come through. It was a personal best in the second sector, absolute best in the first, and then we're into the 139s now. So 1 minute 39.91 seconds. Nico Müller, his time is usurped, and Felipe Fraga going through as well, and he set the absolute best middle sector, so he really hooked that up. The first sector, as Fraga goes top of the times with 1:40.096, 2 thousandths quicker than Müller. On the timing screen, that Clement Schmidt lap time is not showing up, and that is because it was deleted. So that's just come up on the timing screen. Lap 7, lap time deleted because he exceeded track limits at turn 4. So Clement Schmidt would have been on pole position, but they took the lap away from him, and Lucas Auer's gone quickest now, 1:39.937. Second driver to get into 1:39s, but this one is going to count. Turns 1 and 4 is where all the track limits infringements were coming yesterday. So Auer puts the Mercedes top of the times, 1:39.937 at Hockenheim. In the pre-season test at the media day, he said, if I can start this year like I ended last year, that would be the goal. Because he was one of the drivers with lots of DTM experience and race wins, but not in GT3 machinery, but he really did get used to it and came good in the second half of the season. Consistent point scorer. Only finished out of the points on 3 occasions last year, and he got 2 wins and a second from the last 3 weekends of 2021 to move up to 5th in the championship. So he's quickest. Fraga is second. It is Mercedes from Ferrari. Nico Müller, who was quickest in the Audi, is third. And we've got Sheldon van der Linden, who's in the pits now, 4th in the BMW. Nicky Tim in the T3 Motorsports Lamborghini in 5th place. Another rookie, if you can possibly call him that, son of 1986 DTM champion Kurt Tim, who is here supporting his son. The Danish driver has been longing to be a DTM racer for 20 years, and here he is, the former LMGTE Pro Class champion of the World Endurance Championship and a Le Mans class winner, Porsche Super Cup champion. Nicky Tim is going to be another of the drivers featuring up at the sharp end this year. And what about this young man, Arjun Maini? Really impressive, especially in the second half of his debut season in DTM. Somebody that's built up GT3 experience over the last few years. in terms of these types of cars. He switched teams as well, but looking very, very strong the second half of last year. Got that maiden podium at the Norris Ring at the final weekend of the season. So halfway into the session, most of the cars back into the pits now to have a quick check, a quick debrief, get the cars ready, maybe tyres changed and back out again. So it is Lucas Auer, 1:39.937 with the quickest lap of the week so far, at the top of the times by 1.5 tenths from Felipe Fraga. Nico Müller third, Sheldon van der Linde fourth, Nicky Tim fifth, Lucas Stoltz in sixth, Maro Engels seventh, Clement Schmidt in eighth. Michael Grenier looking pretty comfortable in ninth place. Arjun Maini, who we saw just now, has got himself into the top 10 as well. Maximilian Gotz has not really featured up at the sharp end so far here at Portimao this week. You don't know what setups and things people are trying with the teams and who's running what fuel loads, what sorts of tyres, how worn the tyres are, whether they're going for single lap pace. But Max hasn't been up there at the very sharp end in any of the pre-weekend tests on Tuesday or Wednesday, or yesterday really in free practice. And at the moment he's down in 11th place, albeit just 0.4 of a second away from provisional pole position, with 0.9 of a second covering the top 21. And Kelvin van der Linde down in 20th place at the moment for Abt Sportsline. Pretty competitive yesterday in one of the free practice sessions, but again he hasn't been one of the drivers that's absolutely shone. He was 4th quickest in free practice 1 yesterday morning. That's as high as he's been so far this weekend. Marco Wittmann then at Volkenhorst Motorsports, and he's a driver who was very much involved in the championship fight last year. This incredible consistency with the car all the way through until the latter stages of the season. He dropped to 4th place in the championship in the end, but he went all the way through the first 6 weekends without finishing outside the top 8. Points in every race, but then he picked up points in 1 of the 4 races over the last 2 weekends at Hockenheim and the Norris Ring. The car just wasn't competitive, but a newer upgraded M4 for him and for this man as well, Sheldon van der Linde, who sits 4th at the moment for Schubert Motorsports as the best of the BMWs. So fastest in the first sector of the lap so far has been Nico Müller. 2nd sector belongs to Felipe Fraga, and the 3rd sector belongs to Nicky Tim. So nobody's hooked together the absolute perfect lap yet. Get some replays of the number 74 machine of a very special guest driver, if you can call him that, this weekend, with Sebastian Loeb out there, and then this, the more traditional Red Bull liveried car of Felipe Fraga, who comes with lots of plaudits, but might have gone under the radar a little bit in Europe so far, as team boss Ron Rijkaard said. You know, he's got great success, but he's not necessarily that well known in Europe. He's 26, comes from Jacunda in Brazil. Was an LMP3 class winner at Daytona at the start of the year, which gives you an insight into how good he is. Last year, 2nd in the GTE AM class at Le Mans, and as I say, he started out around about 10 years ago in stock cars, Stock Car Brazil Lights champion, Brazilian Stock Car Series champion as well. So he's built up lots and lots of experience. Ex-Formula 1 star Ferrari driver Felipe Massa has sort of kept in touch with his career. Felipe Fraga first met him when he was karting, won a prize, won an awards. Felipe kept in touch with him, and Felipe Massa still, to this day, gives him advice and recently wished him the best of luck for his new venture in DTM. Fraga, good at the moment. 2nd place, 1:40.096. There's Lucas Auer, who's the provisional pole sitter at the moment. 1:39 is the target time to beat. And Lucas Auer looking very strong indeed. He's somebody that has shone in the past in qualifying. He's had 11 pole positions, 7 times a race winner, and an experienced DTM candidate. Later on today will be his 108th race in the championship. Marco Wittmann has he gone so far in the session? 12th place, 0.4 of a second adrift. You can find 0.2 of a second. He'll get himself up into the top 5 or 6. He's got a new teammate, as I mentioned, with Esteban Moot, so rather than being a single car entry, Volkenhorst have now got 2 cars, 2 sets of data, but with Esteban they've got a young driver who's only in his 2nd season of DTM, who is learning the BMW. So Marco will be trying to bring him through and up to speed Esteban back in 24th place at the moment, just ahead of his teammate from last year, Esme Hawke, who's come back for her second season in DTM. The British driver, next Porsche Carrera Cup Pro-Am champion in 25th place for T3 Motorsport. We haven't yet seen a lap time from Mirko Bortolotti, which is puzzling. Hasn't been out at all. I think he's set a sector time now, but nothing from him, and only a slow lap from Tommy Preining, former Porsche Carrera Cup Deutschland champion, young Austrian, the KUS Team Bernhard's outfit in one of the Porsches that's out there. Only in 28th place, 5 seconds or so off the pace. And is generally likely to be up there, so he needs to get going. There he is, Tommy Preining, so here he comes. Over one of the many crests here in this wonderful undulating circuit. And Tommy Preining has just done a 31.4 through the first sector, which is pretty respectable. 31.8 through the second sector. He's gone a little bit quicker than that, but this is going to be his first proper lap of the session, Tommy Preining. One of the 13 rookies that we've got out there in the field. Experienced team in terms of running that Porsche. He raced with the team in the ADAC GT Masters Championship last year. He's been doing some GT racing following his Porsche Carrera exploits, but has always been involved in Porsches. He's a former European karting champion. And the young man about to set a pretty decent time to go 13th, 1 minute 40.4 then for Tommy Preining. But the absolute best first sector time has gone to Felipe Fraga in the number 74 Red Bull AF Corsa Ferrari, 31.3 through the first sector, which takes him turns 1, 2, 3 and 4, and ends just before they get in that downhill hairpin at turn 5. And Fraga with the absolute best second sector as well. So he's a couple of tenths up potentially. And he's going to be at the 139 if he holds it together through the final sector, and he might just have enough to get ahead of Lucas Auer and get himself onto provisional pole position. So the Ferrari is around about 15 seconds from home. He should be up somewhere at turn 14 now, and then that downhill run through 14 and the big sweeping arcing right-hander at turn 15. And the Ferrari will be popping into view on the start-finish line any moment there. There he is. What's the time going to be? 139.73. He goes through and he goes fastest. So Felipe Fraga onto provisional pole position. Just under 0.2 of a second ahead of Lucas Auer, but also a good lap for Sheldon van der Linde, who was absolute best in the first sector. He was a 10th up on the first sector, but he's 0.3 down in the second sector. So he's about 0.2 down at the moment, Sheldon. Could be good enough this to get him into the top 3. If he has a mighty final sector, the BMW might just get onto the front row of the grid. But this looks like a decent lap, and we've got Nico Muller on a charge as well. He's just set the absolute best first sector time. Nico in the number 51 Team Rosberg Audi. Right, van der Linde comes through into the 139s as well, 139.95. But Michael Grenier has gone to the top of the times, just there in the background coming through. And the number 55 Mercedes, fantastic time, 139.689, 49 thousandths of a second ahead of Fraga. Bortolotti has had his first proper lap and has gone straight into the top 3 as well. And he's going even quicker, so Bortolotti waited for them all to lay the rubber down, waited for the track temperature, the grip levels to go up, and now the Italian is on the attack. Could we get a Lamborghini on a DTM pole position here? Absolute best in the first sector, 31.77 through the second sector though. He's about 0.3 down on the best that we've seen through there, so he needs a very good final sector to steal pole position. Grenier is there at the moment. A surprise provisional pole sitter perhaps, even though he has got plenty of GT experience over the last few years. The Canadian looking to get the first pole position of the year into the final minute now. Sebastian Loeb on a personal best lap as well. But where is Bortolotti going to come out in all of this? He needs to find 0.2 of a second to get himself onto the front row of the grid, let alone pole position. 139.689 the time to beat, 139.678. He's done it. Onto pole position goes Mirko Bortolotti for the Grasser Racing team on their debut in DTM. As it stands with 26 seconds to go, they're on pole position by the narrowest of margins, 11 thousandths of a second. But we're not done with the session yet. Lucas Auer on a good first sector, 31.33, that's a personal best. 31.5 is 0.2 quicker than the Lamborghini of Bortolotti through the second sector. So this is going to be a challenger. And Lucas Stoltz has had almost identical first sector as well. So he'll be one of the last to cross the line. The clock ticks down to 0 seconds. Bortolotti, Grenier and Fraga, who's in the pits now. That's the top 3. It's Lamborghini, Mercedes, Ferrari. Engel and Auer. Engel has come up to 4th place. Auer is 5th, but this looks like it might be an improvement. Is he going to be good enough for a 12th career pole position? Will it get him on the front row of the grid? We're about to find out as Lucas comes over the start-finish line. 1:39.71. He goes 3rd quickest. It's his best lap of the session, but he just misses out on the front row of the grid. He's 30 thousandths of a second away from Grenier's time, and he is 41 thousandths of a second away from pole position. Lucas Stoltz is coming through now. He could be challenging for the front row of the grid as well. Not quite. 1:39.98 is a good effort. Nico Muller, really good first sector. He comes through, but the lap fell away from him. 1:40.1. He's not going to be good enough to improve. Nicky Thiem, who was up there in the top 6 of the first half of the session, is going to be one of the last to cross the line. I'm not sure he's going to do it. No, 5th place, pretty good, but 5th place, 3rd row of the grids at the moment, 1:39.92. Kelvin van der Linde, he's a good middle sector, but he was a couple of tenths down in the first sector, and the last sector falls away as well. Just running out of tyres, I think, there. Marius Zerg, so impressive pre-season so far. He's going to try and improve his time as well, but I'm not sure he's going to be a pole-setting time, but it could be a time that gets him in the top 6 looking at those sector times. We'll wait for him to come through. The 19-year-old signed the contract on his 19th birthday note, falls away from him as well. So I think those tyres on that last run, for a lot of the drivers, the lap started well, but it fell away in the final sector. And so, with a maiden pole position in the DTM, it is Mirko Bortolotti in only his 3rd qualifying session after those 2 qualifying sessions at Assen last year. The first with his new team, and on their debut of the DTM, the Grasso Racing team take a wonderful pole position here at Portimao, and they have done it by 11 thousandths of a second, 60 thousandths of a second to cover the top 4. Bortolotti, Grenier, Auer and Fraga. What an incredible session that was. Remember, he didn't go out in the first half, so only had that 10 minutes or so to set a time. And the team have been a little bit on the back foot coming into the season, hadn't done as much pre-season testing as they would have liked, and they were really having to work hard to get lots of laps in at Hockenheim a few weeks ago. What was a damp and wet and dry mixed weather test, cold weather. But they have come good here. And what an effort from Michael Grenier as well, the 29-year-old from Quebec in Canada. He was a Pro-Am champion in the Intercontinental GT Challenge last year. Former runner-up in the International GT Open Series, and has raced in high-level categories like Blancpain GT and the Lamborghini Super Trofeo, which he was a champion. So he's got a great pedigree, but Michael Grenier, the Canadian for Mercedes-AMG team, grew up at M Racing on the front row of the grid as well. Quite an extraordinary debut for him. And Lucas Auer, who was on provisional pole halfway through the session, will have to settle for 3rd place, but he'll know that he pretty much is just as quick as the 2 drivers that are going to start just ahead of him. Tiny, tiny margins on what's a quite long lap here at Portimao. So Bortolotti, Grenier, Auer, the top 3. They'll get championship points as well, 3, 2 and 1 respectively. Fraga 4th. Thiem in 5th place, has been thereabouts all the way through this week. Engel in 6th. Sheldon van der Linde in 7th place. Might be slightly disappointed given how well it was going in the first half of the session, but it's certainly looking more positive than last year for him already. Stoltz, Gutz and Muller round out the top 10. I think Nico's going to be a bit disappointed with that because he's been up there all the way through the sessions in free practice, but 4 tenths down in the end and actually ended up behind Maximilian Gutz, the reigning champion. They'll share the 5th row of the grid. René Rast on his return to DTM says he feels like a rookie as he gets used to the new cars, the new teams that he's with, having raced against Sports Line for many years. He's now with them. He is not far off the pace, but 11th position. So all smiles for the man on the left, Mirko Bortolotti. A very amiable Italian. Absolutely delighted with that. They've worked very, very hard all week. Lots and lots of laps to get that set up. There's Lucas Auer. Very likeable, very experienced Austrian driver. 3rd place. And 2 Mercedes in the top 3. It's Lamborghini from Mercedes, Ferrari in 4th, Lamborghini in 5th, Mercedes in 6th. Best BMW is 7th. And having looked good in the test sessions and the free practice sessions, you have to go back to 9th place. Sorry, 10th place to find an Audi. Nico Muller for Team Rosberg. Then the top 3, Michael Grenier to the left. In the centre, the pole sitter, Mirko Bortolotti. And to the right, Luigi Auer. All smiles after what was a frantic session. 29 cars on track, 20-minute session. You could not afford to hang around or get delayed. So welcome to the DTM, Michael Grenier. That is quite the debut in qualifying. And I won't say it's a surprise because I don't think anybody really had any idea who was going to be gunning for pole position in that session. Such is the depth of quality of the field this season. Super slow-mos then of our top 3 from the opening qualifying session of the year. Lucas Sauer, and then Michael Grenier coming home in second, missing out though on pole position by just 11 thousandths of a second. Your first pole position of the 2022 campaign goes to Lamborghini and Mirko Bortolotti. Down now to Verena in the pit lane.
What a phenomenal first qualifying. Congratulations, Mirko Bortolotti. That's absolutely amazing. I mean, it's, you know, just starting in the DTM already, snapping pole position and qualifying. What's it feel like?
It's amazing. As you said, I'm super happy. We really worked really well over the last few days, preparing for the first round. We've also been here testing a month ago, so for sure, yeah, everything we've done so far was really nice. We took a gamble today, just going really at the end, saving a set of tires. We knew the track is going to improve with everyone putting new tires on the ground, so. But still, putting it together was not easy, and the lap was really good, and I'm really happy to be on pole.
Absolutely. I mean, it's always worthwhile taking a gamble if it works out like this. But in regards to the race now, I mean, it's a tricky racetrack, right?
Yeah. As we've seen last year, the race is restarting really often in DTM, so it's really nice to be on pole for sure. It's a great start to the season, but it's such a long race, and so many things can happen, and it's going to change so much during the race, so we will need to read it really well to be on it when the crucial moments will arrive, and hopefully we will be in the position to fight for the win in the end.
Well, it's definitely going to be very exciting. Thank you so much, Mirko, and we're just going to grab over there Michael Grenier because he's got P2, and that's going to be exciting to find out. Hello there. Just want to congratulate you for P2. So did a fantastic job with this, so I guess now all eyes on the race. So what do you have in store for us for the race? What do you think?
Well, we have a very good car on long run. Tire deck is not so much, so I think we should be good in the race. Obviously, it's my first DTM race, so I don't know what to expect for the start and all these things, but we have a good crew, and it's easier to start on the front row as well than in the pit pack, so should be okay, but no pressure. We just try to enjoy it and do the maximum.
That sounds good. Well, thank you so much, and looking forward to the race. We're going to grab Auer in just a sec. Oh, there he is already. Luki Auer, good to see you again. We have 2 rookies there in quali, but you in P3. Good to see you there. It's going to be tough in the race, so what do you think? What will the race bring?
I think, as you said, will be tough. I think it will be all about strategy, pit stop, and managing tires.
All right, well, I'm sure you'll handle it. Best
you.
of luck for the race. Thank you so much, Lucas. And so obviously we're really looking forward to the race, which is going to start in a little bit later on. And I mean, it looks so promising with 2 rookies in the quali being in the 2 first positions. And we've got 29 cars and 6 brands, and we're so excited. So you don't want to miss the race. See you in a bit. Bye-bye.